All right, so we're going to move on to vertebrates in this subkingdom of animals. And so vertebrates, if you can look from this picture, you can tell that we're looking at a backbone or a spine. A spine is made of tiny little bones called vertebrae. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about when we talk about vertebrates. Okay, so we've gone from domain eukarya or eukaryota to kingdom animalia. And actually, this is kind of wrong. This is going to be, well, it is a phylum Chordata with a subphylum Vertebrata. And so when I'm talking about Chordata, you say, wait a second, I thought we were talking about vertebrates. But what is that thing that runs down through your spinal column? That thing that runs down through your spine? Well, it's your spinal cord. So chordate or vertebrate really are the same kind of thing. And in these phylums and subphylums, we're going to be looking at 7 different classes. Okay, but we'll move to that a little bit later. So if we look at phylum Chordata, you have to remember that vertebrates are chordates, okay? And phylum Chordata includes all kinds of different things, these little lancelets and tunicates and etc. But the vertebrates and all chordates have what we talked about is that spinal cord. Okay, it's that flexible rod. This one right here, we show it as a notochord. It's a flexible rod that supports the chordate's back. Okay, it also has that nerve cord that runs through, which is going to be that spinal cord, and that connects the brain to the other parts of the body. And so we've talked about before in class, and we'll extend this again, that if that spinal cord is severed, if it's cut or damaged, when the brain can't send signals down past that damaged part, that's where you have paralysis. So if you have a severed spinal cord down at your waist, then you would be paralyzed possibly from your hips down. Those nerves that are sent, the impulses that are sent from the brain down through the spinal cord are things like, hey, move, hey, that itches, hey, that hurts. And so when that's cut, the brain no longer receives signals, nor can it get signals to those parts of the body. Okay, and then they're just showing another thing. They've got these pouches in the throat area called the pharyngeal slit. Okay, so what are characteristics of all vertebrates? And I really want you to get the things that are boxed in blue. Those are the most important clear characteristics that I want you to have written down. So one, you have an endoskeleton, endo meaning inside skeleton with a backbone. They also have distinct skulls. They have bilateral symmetry. Remember that that's only one line of symmetry that divides the body in half in 2 mirror images. They have 2 pairs of jointed appendages. We use the word appendages because it could be 4 legs, things that we term 4 legs. It could be legs and arms, etc. Okay, and then the last thing that I really want you to know is that you've got a closed circulatory system with chambered hearts. Okay, and you're going to see as we go through this is very different from the invertebrates and those ocean-dwelling animals. Okay, now not to make the wrong assumption that all vertebrates are land animals, because we do have ocean-dwelling vertebrates, but the ones that we talked about previous to this, the invertebrates that are the water animals, they're very different in this circulatory system thing and these chambered hearts. Okay, so going back to the backbone, they're stacks of many small bones called vertebrae, and they kind of fit together like a nice little puzzle. And so showing you a picture of this, you have that spinal cord that goes down through the center of the backbone, and each one of these little sections are called vertebrae. Okay, and so the vertebrae protect the spinal cord, and then you can also see that if the spinal cord was damaged inside, there's probably a pretty traumatic accident, or something pretty major has to happen, because it is protected by that bone. All right, so there's two types of temperatured vertebrate bodies. You have what's called ectotherms, and these are animals that produce little body heat. Their body temperature changes with their outside or external environment. Ecto meaning outside and therms meaning heat. So these are going to be your animals that have to warm their bodies up in some outside way. Okay. Then you have what's called endotherms, and endo meaning inside, therms heat. They produce their own inside or internal body heat. Okay, and so they regulate their heat despite what's going on in the environment. And this is us. I mean, we don't step outside into the snow here in Idaho and immediately our body temperature goes down to 30 degrees or 25 degrees. Our body works to continually keep our body temperature much higher, in the 90s, 98.7, 97.8, somewhere around in there. Okay. Now, granted, if you're out there for too long, your body's going to go, you know what, I give up. I've been trying and it's not working, and then you'll freeze to death. But it's going to try, and remember that is one of those features of homeostasis that we talked about. Okay. So there are two types of reproduction styles for vertebrates. You have the oviparous reproduction style, which are animals that lay eggs, okay, like your birds, your snakes, reptiles, etc. Then you have the viviparous, which are the animals that have live births, like your mammals, okay? So we're going to start with each of the classes, and we're going to start with class Agnetha. This is the class that grosses me out. These things are just nasty creatures, in my opinion. Class Agnetha is the first class that we're going to talk about of vertebrates. Remember, I told you there were 7 classes. Agnathates literally means jawless and finless. They are water dwellers. They have a skeleton made of cartilage, so it's that flexible material like what is in your nose. They do reproduce sexually. They have gills, and they have a 2-chambered heart. Remember, they've got to have a chambered heart. They are oviparous, which means they lay eggs. And examples of these are hagfish and lamprey. So you could pause the video right now and write down a few of these characteristics. Notice that I boxed the 2 most important things on here.